Good morning, conference. We now come back to a part of today's proceeding, part of this conference I've really been looking forward to for a long time. And this is to hear from Naomi Long, the leader of the Alliance Party in Northern Ireland. Somebody who does not need too much of an introduction, except to say that Naomi is the only politician in the UK to actually have held at some point every elected position available in the UK. Someone who I certainly look up to in a huge way, and I'm delighted now to welcome Naomi Long to the platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and good morning, conference. I want to bring you, first of all, greetings from a rather rain-soaked and blustery Belfast. That's not really news, it usually is, particularly at this time of the year. But I hope that you're all having a really successful conference weekend so far. And I want to bring you very warm wishes from your sister party here in the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland. As you know, our spring conference is our major gathering, and next spring it will take place just before the scheduled dissolution of the Assembly elections at the end of this mandate, and will in many ways kick off the formal start of the election. Though, as you know, as good Liberal Democrats and as good Liberals, election campaigns start much, much earlier than that. The last 5 years in Northern Ireland have been incredibly turbulent ones. And it would be remiss of me actually in reflecting on them this morning not to mention the passing of James Brokenshire, who served as our Secretary of State through 2 years of that period. We didn't always agree, but he was unfailingly courteous, helpful, and he genuinely cared about the future of Northern Ireland and the future of the UK. When he left us due to his initial diagnosis with lung cancer, he did so with our best wishes for a speedy and full recovery. Sadly, that was not to be, and so our thoughts and prayers are very much with Cathy and his family at this time, as well as his colleagues in Parliament. And I think his friends and colleagues in Parliament extend way beyond his Conservative colleagues, because he was someone who reached across those boundaries. When James served during that period, he served during the 3 years of this mandate, when the Executive and the Assembly were suspended after Sinn Féin walked out of the Assembly due to disputes with the DUP. It's hard to believe that only 18 months into a restored mandate, and with only 6 months left to go, the future of the institutions are again being threatened, this time by the DUP. And it is, I think, understandable to everyone, the sheer exhaustion and frustration felt by the public, that they again at a time of crisis face their institutions being dismantled when they need leadership and government more than ever. It's also an irony not lost on anyone but the most ardent of Brexiters that the DUP, outraged as they are by the protocol designed to protect Northern Ireland from the worst effects of a hard Brexit, which they championed, a protocol which incidentally was the only option left on the table after they blocked every other option for a softer Brexit, which would have avoided friction both at the land border on this island, but also at the sea border between our islands. And so it is ironic that it is the DUP who are now most exercised about the protocol issue. Neither is it lost on most of us that they have yet to propose a single workable alternative to the protocol that hasn't already been considered and either dismissed as unworkable or rejected by them as representing a reduction in UK sovereignty. Much like the Tories, they believe their own propaganda. They believe there was a unicorn Brexit, one where we could have our cake and eat it, leave the EU yet still have all the benefits of EU membership. And every challenge which Northern Ireland has faced as a result of Brexit, from disrupted delivery chains to no longer being able to travel freely with our pets, from increased bureaucracy and cost to businesses, to threats to our supplies of medicines, were not only predicted and dismissed as Project Fear, but are now framed not as the inevitable consequences of the folly of Brexit, but as the fault of the protocol, a protocol which would never have existed were it not for Brexit. Whilst I take no pleasure in hearing of empty shelves in GB or seeing queues at petrol stations due to the lack of HGV drivers. It does help expose the lie that it is the protocol rather than Brexit that is the problem. And it makes the calls for it to be scrapped and for us to get the same Brexit as the rest of GB all the more foolish when we face none of those issues as things stand. The instability which Brexit has caused in Northern Ireland politics, however, goes much deeper than the kind of silly sausage wars of Sammy Wilson. It has fueled increasing nationalist sentiment, not only within Northern Ireland, but within the UK as a whole. And it is that rising English nationalism which underpinned Brexit, which I believe in turn is fueling Scottish and Welsh nationalism. We are well accustomed in Northern Ireland to the toxic consequences of the divisive politics of British and Irish nationalism. It is the antithesis of liberalism, defining people and their rights primarily around group rights and identities, rather than around individual freedoms and responsibilities. That nationalism that believes that one nation is inherently better than others drives a culture of exceptionalism, where some feel that membership of their tribe bestows rights and privileges that others don't deserve, or that it places them above the responsibilities which others have to endure. That's the very exceptionalism which led to Brexit, and it fuels government policy today. Whether it's the calculated defiance of international law and rules of engagement, which has brought us the Veterans Act, seeking to place our armed forces above internationally agreed rules of engagement, or the more casual indifference that we see to the plight of refugees, migrants, and international development. And of course, we're used to that too in Northern Ireland. If you announce the most unpalatable and shameful policies, but you do it standing in front of a flag, then you signal to people that taking issue with the policy isn't a justifiable political position, but an act of disloyalty to the nation, an act of treachery. So how do we as Liberals combat that nationalism and division in our society and fight for a better and more compassionate future for those we represent? Many years ago, the late John Hume's father, a socialist, told his young son John, as he watched as a young boy Irish nationalist marches and demonstrations in Derry in the 50s, to stay away from politics like that. In his famous phrase, "You can't eat a flag, son." And in that phrase lies a truth which as Liberals we need to capture and build on in the present. In a post-Brexit, post-pandemic society, faced with the urgency of the climate crisis, people see real and immediate hardship and also medium to long-term realignment of our living and working lives. Announcing swinging cuts to universal credit in front of a flag does not make it fair or equitable. A flag won't feed that hungry family. It won't pay the bills. It won't buy the school uniforms. It won't heat the home. Taxing the working poor to pay for the social care of the asset rich won't hurt their prospects less if it comes laced with a dose of patriotic flag waving. Bad policy and bad politics, self-serving, exceptionalist, corrupt and divisive, isn't made good by wrapping it in a flag. Any flag, be it the Union flag, the Scottish Saltire, the flag of Wales or Northern Ireland. And therein lies both our challenge and, I believe, our opportunity. As Liberals, we can demonstrate the benefits of having a global conscience, of internationalism, of cooperation, recognising those in other countries as global partners rather than our enemies. We can articulate clearly why treating foreign nationals with the contempt that led to these workforce shortages that we now face, and the exceptionalism which believes that offering them a 3-month visa which expires on Christmas Eve is not just folly, but is insulting to people's intelligence. We can stand up for our values of fairness and equity, protecting the vulnerable and the disenfranchised, and those who need free access to those things of which our country should be rightly proud, our National Health Service, our national welfare system, and prevent them being dismantled and destroyed by those who care only for themselves. We can expose the cronyism, the injustice, the unaccountability of those who, when they have power, abuse it rather than use it for the common good. And we can expose the emptiness of offering people abstract concepts like patriotism, national sovereignty, and self-determination, when the individual's rights to fulfill their own potential, to assemble and protest against the governments, are being eroded. The challenge is, however, to do more than simply critique the problem, as Labour have done and continue to do. We need to provide a solution to every problem, always focused on why we have a better way forward. We need to demonstrate that there is an alternative to nationalism, to prioritising constitutional change and national identity politics above quality of life and social cohesion. We need to demonstrate there is an alternative, one that offers hope in the here and now and for the future, to people whatever their long-term constitutional aspirations might be, and that we as Liberals are that alternative. Not vague, cerebral, ethereal philosophers, but real, solution-focused, grounded, delivery-driven Liberals. We have started on that journey here in Northern Ireland. We have seen our vote share and polling continue to gain momentum. But the only poll that matters is the next election. And it's one which could change our politics here for good if we can sustain that progress and challenge the binary politics of the past and offer a third way for the future. I know that you have your own fight back to contend with, and I look forward to travelling on that journey with you as fellow Liberals in these islands. It is important that we work together against those who see nationalism of any kind as a solution to our current problems. And if we can do that successfully, if we can unite people not behind flags, but behind a vision of a stable, prosperous, fair and inclusive future for us all, then I believe we will be hard to beat. I wish you well with the rest of your conference, and I wish you well with your campaigns over the coming years. And I hope that together we can build a different future for the people in these islands, based on our Liberal principles and with real solutions to the real problems that we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for that speech. It was so relevant to the current situation, encouraging and inspiring. The chat has been filled with comments thanking you for such an excellent speech. So thank you, Naomi. We will shortly be going back to the topical debate, and I will be handing over to Mike O'Carroll to chair that. Thank you.